My name is Emily Parker. I'm 29 years old, and this year was supposed to be the happiest of my life. After years of heartbreak and struggle, I was finally expecting my first baby. My husband Daniel and I had dreamed of this moment, decorating the nursery, feeling the baby's tiny kicks, and imagining our future as parents. But what was supposed to be a celebration turned into the most humiliating day of my life. It was my baby shower, the one moment I thought I would finally feel surrounded by love, acceptance, and joy. My friends were there, Daniel's family was there, and most importantly, my parents and my sister Jessica were there. As the cake was being cut and gifts were opened, Jessica stood up, smiling that flawless smile she's always been praised for, and said loudly, "Well, at least if I ever mess up, Emily's here. She's like the backup mom." The room went silent. Some guests laughed nervously, others shifted uncomfortably. And me? I felt my cheeks burn. My hands trembled as I held my belly, my baby inside me, the one I had prayed for, the one I already loved more than anything. In that single moment, everything I had pushed down for years, every dismissal, every comparison, every time I was treated as second best, rose up like a tidal wave. That day wasn't just about a cruel joke. It was the breaking point. Growing up in the Parker household meant one thing: Jessica was the star, and I was the shadow. Jessica, 2 years younger than me, was always the golden child. She had the perfect smile, the perfect grades, the perfect talent for cheerleading and piano recitals. My parents, especially my mom, Linda, adored her. Dad, Richard, wasn't much better. He worked long hours and barely paid attention to me, but when he did, it was usually to brag about Jessica's accomplishments. I remember being 10 years old, coming home with a spelling bee trophy. I was so proud, clutching that little golden cup. But the very same night, Jessica sang at her school talent show, and the trophy I brought home ended up shoved behind books on the shelf. Mom's voice still rings in my ears. "We're so lucky to have Jessica. She's just so gifted." What about me? Even in small things, the favoritism was obvious. Jessica got the bigger bedroom, the newer clothes, the freedom to go out with friends. I was expected to be the responsible one, the one who cleaned up, who helped cook, who looked after Jessica when Mom was too tired. By the time we were teenagers, Jessica had blossomed into the girl everyone admired. I had learned to live in her shadow, quiet, dependable, invisible. Deep inside, I kept hoping one day my parents would notice me, would see the weight I carried. But that day never came. And the cruelest part? I didn't hate Jessica. I wanted to be close to her. I wanted us to be real sisters. But instead, I was always the backup, the one in the background. And at my baby shower, that role came back to haunt me louder than ever. As I grew older, I thought maybe adulthood would change things. Maybe when I became independent, had a career, and built a life of my own, my parents and Jessica would finally respect me. I worked hard through college, juggling part-time jobs while earning my degree in nursing. When Jessica struggled in school, I was the one who stayed up late helping her with assignments. When she broke up with her high school boyfriend, I was the one sneaking ice cream into her room at 2 a.m. Yet, no matter what I did, Jessica was always the shining one, and I was just there. When I married Daniel, I thought I had finally found the family I'd always longed for. Daniel was kind, supportive, and excited to build a future together. But my parents barely showed interest. My wedding felt like an afterthought to them, almost like it was happening in Jessica's shadow. Then came the biggest test of my life: getting pregnant. I had always dreamed of becoming a mom, but after a year of negative tests, I started to lose hope. When the doctor finally told me I was expecting, I cried in the car with Daniel, holding his hand like it was the most precious miracle we'd ever been given. But even during the pregnancy, my family treated me like my joy was something small. Jessica would say things like, "Oh, I'll probably get pregnant soon too, and then mom and dad will really go crazy." My mother, Linda, was more worried about how my pregnancy might distract Jessica from her plans than about my health. Through swollen ankles, morning sickness, and sleepless nights, I dreamed of my baby, the tiny heartbeat that gave me strength. I pictured the baby shower as the one moment where maybe, just maybe, my parents would celebrate me. I stayed up late planning decorations, picking a pastel theme, writing thank you notes in advance. I wanted it to be perfect. Not for me, but for the baby. But deep down, I knew something was coming. I could feel it. The way you sense a storm before the first raindrop falls. And when Jessica opened her mouth at the shower, she didn't just crack a joke. She ripped open a wound I had carried my whole life. The baby shower started beautifully. Friends brought colorful balloons. Daniel held my hand with pride, and for a brief moment, I felt special. I thought, this is it. This is my moment. Jessica arrived late, of course, sweeping into the room like she was the guest of honor. She hugged me, posed for pictures, and acted as though the party was half hers. As we gathered around the cake, I gave a small speech, thanking everyone for being there, for supporting me and the baby. My heart was full, even though I noticed my parents barely clapping. And then, it happened. Jessica raised her glass, smirking, and said, "Well, at least if I ever mess up with my kids, Emily can take over." "She's like the backup, Mom." Laughter bubbled around the room. Not genuine, but awkward, forced. I felt every eye shift toward me. My mother chuckled softly. My father looked down at his plate. No one defended me. Not one person said, "That's cruel." The room spun. My cheeks burned hot, and I could feel my baby kicking, almost as if sensing my pain. I tried to smile, to hold it together, but my voice cracked as I muttered, "Excuse me." I walked away from the crowd, out the front door, into the cool air of the evening. The laughter still echoed in my ears, sharp as knives. In that moment, something inside me broke. I realized I wasn't just the backup in my sister's story. To my family, I had always been second place, and I couldn't let my baby grow up in a world where their mother was treated as less than. That night, I sat in the nursery Daniel and I had been decorating. The soft yellow walls glowed in the lamplight, and tiny onesies were folded neatly in the dresser. I should have felt joy, but all I felt was emptiness. Jessica's words wouldn't stop ringing in my ears. "Back up, Mom." It wasn't just a joke. It was a lifetime of dismissal wrapped in one cruel sentence. I looked at the crib, the place where my baby would sleep, and I made a decision. I couldn't raise my child in the same toxic cycle that had destroyed me. I refused to let my baby feel like second best in their own family. The very next week, I started making changes. I told Daniel my decision. We needed distance. He was hesitant at first. He wanted to believe my parents would come around. But when he saw the way my hands shook every time the phone rang, when he watched me cry silently while folding baby clothes, he understood. We sold some furniture, packed our essentials, and rented a small apartment in another town, nearly 2 hours away. It wasn't glamorous, just a one-bedroom place above a little coffee shop. But it was ours. It was safe. At first, the silence felt unbearable. No calls from Mom, no visits from Dad, no checking in from Jessica. Just nothing. But slowly, that silence turned into peace. After the baby was born, my sweet daughter, Lily Grace, I found strength I never knew I had. Sleepless nights became easier when I held her tiny hand. Her first smile reminded me why I had chosen this new path. I started connecting with other moms in the area, women who knew what it felt like to rebuild from scratch. One neighbor, Sarah, became like the sister I had always wished for. She showed up with meals, held Lily when I needed a shower, and never once made me feel like a backup. For the first time, I felt what real support looked like. Piece by piece, I was building a new life. Not perfect, not easy, but filled with genuine love. And I realized, walking away wasn't weakness. It was the bravest thing I had ever done. It didn't take long for my family to notice my absence. At first, Mom sent casual texts. "We miss you at Sunday dinner." Then came the guilt trips. "Family is all you have in this world, Emily. Don't forget that." When I ignored her messages, the gossip started. A cousin reached out saying my parents were telling everyone I was emotional and unstable after the baby. They painted me as ungrateful, as if I had abandoned them without reason. Jessica finally called one evening. Her voice was sugar-coated but hollow. "Hey, Em, I'm sorry if my joke hurt you. You know I didn't mean it like that. Can't we just move on?" Mom's really upset. I wanted to scream. She wasn't apologizing for what she said. She was apologizing because I had dared to leave. Then came the final push. My father called, his voice unusually soft. "Your mother isn't feeling well. It would mean a lot if you came home, but I knew better." Mom had used that excuse before, back when I tried to leave for college early. It was never about her health. It was about control. I looked at Lily sleeping peacefully in her crib, her tiny chest rising and falling, her fist curled tight around her blanket. And I knew the answer. I wouldn't go back. For once in my life, I wasn't the backup. I was the mother. I was the protector. And I had to break the cycle for good. It's been over a year since that baby shower, the day my sister called me the backup mom. Back then, those words cut me so deeply I wasn't sure I could recover. But now, as I sit in our little apartment watching Lily take her first wobbly steps across the living room floor, I realize something powerful. Those words no longer define me. I am not a backup. I am not second best. I am Lily's mom, her only mom, and that's enough. There are nights when I still feel the sting of rejection, when I wonder why my own parents couldn't love me the way I needed. But then I hear Lily's laughter, or feel her arms wrapped around my neck, and I know I made the right choice. Walking away wasn't a punishment. It was survival. My family may never admit the damage they caused. They may continue their gossip, their excuses, their half-hearted attempts to pull me back into their shadow. But I've learned something important. Family isn't proven by blood. It's proven by love. And love is what I choose every single day for my daughter and myself. If you're listening to my story and you've ever felt like the forgotten one, the backup, or the shadow, hear me when I say this. Choosing yourself is not selfish. Protecting your peace is not weakness. Sometimes the bravest thing you can do is walk away from the people who were supposed to love you the most. Because you deserve more. Your children deserve more. And real family, the kind that lifts you up and makes you feel seen, will never make you feel like a backup. I may not have the family I was born into, but I have the family I built. And for the first time in my life, that's enough.